Hello and welcome back to Tearaway Unfolded. This is BioEnchanted, and today we'll be doing one of the more ingenious levels in this game. Now we are inside the controller. Because of that, we're in a much smaller location. So while we're decorating our toit, I'd like you to notice the very extreme curvature in the level we're now in. We're in a much smaller space, and so the game takes that into account, and I really like that. But that's not all I like about this level. It's quite inventive and quite fun. We just need to get a photo ID first. So let's move on, shall we, and actually explore it. I really do like the way it does the camera, especially given it kind of gets the idea, given it kind of sorts itself out after a few minutes. It kind of gives you the idea that certainly it is a much smaller space, but it is still has moments where it's tighter turns and moments where it's wider, because of course that's the shape of the controller. It's really well done. I also quite like the idea of having the Wendigo skin as well. It gives a little bit of foreboding to this very surreal level. I also really like the messenger song as well. It's a very cool harmony, and it's very haunting as well. You just keep hearing it coming from the speaker on the controller itself, which is quite cool. But of course, we are in the controller, so we tilt the controller and the level itself tilts, which is really cool. So let's just help this second messenger get to their you. Something quite interesting with this level as well is this is the second messenger. Remember at the beginning we were asked whether we were a boy or a girl. That's not asking us which messenger does its story. That's just asking us which story we see. Because, of course, this is the other messenger. I believe this is supposed to be the male messenger since we picked Atois, the female messenger. And so we're kind of, we're not really picking whose story gets played out. We're more seeing how we perceive it. And I found that quite an interesting way of doing the character select thing. We're only selecting the character whose journey we see. It's quite an interesting little bit of meta commentary of this is your story, but your story isn't the only story. Other stories are always being told. You are always the NPC in everyone else's story. You're always the side character for someone. And also just the whole like moving sliding platform thing is quite a fun mechanic as well, as is trying to figure out how to move these little slidey blocks. I also quite like the little textures you have of the rotating controller. They remind me a lot of those little kind of holographic cards you used to get in old crisp packets, where they'd have like a little image on it that would change its shape when you moved it in light. I always quite like those little holographic things. It's fun that they have those as the movement symbol, because it's a very cute little bit of meta commentary on the whole movement thing, because of course they only move as you move the controller, similar to how those holograms work. So they only move when movement's happening. It takes me a little time to figure out how to actually get past this thing, but there we go. I didn't realize there was that wall there at first on the light. So it is very easy to miss that. I do quite like the whole thing with the other messenger being in constant bore mode as well. It gets the idea, of course, that they have completely lost all control of their story. They're entirely up to you now to help them finish their story. They can't even walk on their own terms. Now they have to kind of be rolled around by you. They have lost all agency, and it's up to you to help them get it back and help them finish their story. I got this little platformy thing with the little buttons. It's quite a cute way of returning these as well, because you don't actually need to use the square and the circle buttons at all. You just need to get it to the bottom right, but I wanted this thing. I was like, well, the game kind of makes fun of you taking the wrong path though as well, as if you weren't intentionally going for that chest. So let's finally get out of this little thing. This little labyrinth ball thing. Yeah, it's quite a fun little kind of exploration, expansion rather, on the whole thing where you're leading the baby Wendigo around that one room. Because now you're leading yourself, basically the other version of yourself around this room, a much bigger version of that puzzle, and it's much more complicated, but all the mechanics are kind of in place. And here we have to use a light to activate these little eye platforms, which adds a fun little mechanic as well to kind of bring it all together, because now we have to use the light as well to activate some of these moving platforms, because otherwise they won't slide without having the arrows free. And of course here we have a drum skin, so let's get up there, shall we? There's quite fun ways of using platforms as well. Like, I always quite like when games give you optional little platforming objectives for collectibles. Like, one surprising PS2 game that did that was that Woody Woodpecker Escape from Buzz Buzz Park, where sometimes it would actually have quite interesting side paths that would get you like extra collectibles and things like that, and I thought that was quite a cool thing for a game that otherwise was very kind of basic, but it's still quite fun. The only problem is the emulator I played it on could not run it very well. It went at like a snail's pace. But that's obviously a digression. We're almost there though. It's a much lighter room now. And now we have these little bouncy things. I do quite like that this level kind of brings all of the mechanics together in quite a fun way, if you don't get yourself eaten by the bouncy things by completely messing it up. And somehow it lets you kind of skip that particular thing, because I just kind of, I guess I activated that little checkpoint. This game's got very lenient checkpoints, and that's quite nice. For the younger players at least. Maybe a little embarrassing for older players that don't really need that kind of hand-holding, but I don't mind it. It keeps things flowing. And now we're combining jumping with the drum and dropping onto a moving platform. So we're getting a lot more combinations of things that are quite interesting too. This part can be quite easy to mess up the timing on. Luckily I didn't. I don't know what this is for though, so I just kind of tried to mess around with it and then just kind of give up. I just kind of wanted to complete the level at this point. I quite like how some of the platforms slot into the other platforms as well, or kind of like get hidden beneath it, so it kind of makes you be a bit more careful about it at this point. You have to kind of know when to step off the platform and when to let it carry you. And yeah, all of these confetti are just busy work, so let's just move on. There is a good reason that the game's reminding us of the light mechanic as well. Remember, we're inside the controller. And now we know exactly where we are in relation to the rest of it.
Yes,
I quite like how you pull your light up to let the other variants of the main character progress to their you, and then you just have to go down into the light to make it to the next area. It's a pretty cool transition, really. It's a fun little bit of mirroring. So here, of course, we have the next level, a massive, another desert, but this time much more unstructured and much wilder than even the previous one. We seem to be on the cutting room floor, or approaching it. I look forward to seeing you again on the next episode. So for the next one, please remember to like, leave a comment to discuss this game if you'd like to. Subscribe if you haven't already. Check out my Patreon, and also share the vids with anyone who think would be interested. So let's have a little bit of a look around this desert, and then I'll leave that with you. Almost done. Goodbye.